What is going on, guys? I welcome each and every one of you to the full simultaneous teardown and review comparing the brand spanking new Star S7000 spinning reel to a reel that's been around in some way, shape, and form for the past 50 years, the Penn 704Z. And if you're curious as to why I chose the Z to compare to the new Star, all you got to do is take a quick peek. They do share quite a few design similarities, and Star has even gone as far as saying that they based their reel on an iconic reel from the past that was both simple, durable, and reliable. I'm betting it was the Penn Z. So before we get into what actually makes up these reels, I'm going to share with you my personal experience fishing the new 7000 from Star. Now guys, I want to start this off being as open and upfront as possible. I've only fished this reel between, I'd say, 8 and 12 hours, making maybe 300 casts if I'm lucky. And all I had to show for it was 3 bluefish, 3 striped bass, and about $50 worth of lost lures. My experience fishing this reel with the dual line pickups has been abysmal at best. I noticed when I first installed them that the line pickups were not equally spaced apart from the spool. And I'm well aware how these manual pickup reels work. I've owned Z-Bass and Van Stalls before. And when you do start the casting process, you want to make sure that the spool is as high as possible. And in the box, they come with a couple washers, and I haven't seen any instructions telling you what their specified purpose is. But they are indeed to space the threading of the handle, so that way when the handle is pointed straight down, the reel is at the top of its oscillation cycle, and that's in order to prevent any loops coming off the reel from catching the line roller. I found that not to function. I lost a nice plug caster pencil and a 5-ounce crocodile spoon, all within the first day. I switched to the bailed version, and even with the bailed version, I was throwing wind knots. And I'm a firm believer that 90% of all the wind knots that you throw are a direct result of user error. I can assure you, I'm the kind of fisherman that throws maybe 5 wind knots every decade with the reels that I usually use. And I threw 10 wind knots with this reel, spooled exactly this way. And it reminded me from day one of when I got my Z-Bass back from repair, when they shimmed the bottom of the shaft, and that caused the reel not to sit properly, or I should say the factory spool not to fit properly, causing a gap at the top. So what was happening as I would make a hard cast, line that wasn't supposed to come off was getting pulled off, and then it would sneeze out a blob of braid, some of which I was able to pull out, others I had to cut. And after that 8 to 12 hours of fishing time, I am no longer going to fish this reel. I've had it now for a couple weeks. I've taken it apart and fished it. I doubt I can return it, but I'm either going to sell it for a loss. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, to be honest. But I'm no longer fishing this reel, and I will not be recommending this product to anybody, whether you fish it bailless or bailed. So with that out of the way, let's get over and compare this to the 704Z, as it's very interesting how they did take that design and kind of make it their own. All right, starting out from the top down and the outside in, let's take a look at their spools. This is the Star S7000 on the left and the Penn Z on the right, both of which are 2 3/4 inch diameter measured at the spool lip. And the Star S7000 features speed holes, so if you're chasing false albacore down the beach, you'll experience less drag, along with drying out your line quicker. No speed holes on the Penn. Albies will outrun you. Next up, let's take a look at their drag knobs. The Star S7000 features a lip seal on the drag knob to keep water out from the top, along with some debris. And I did dunk the reel in a bucket, and I did find that no water did get through the spool. And you can also see on the spool support, there is also an additional lip seal on the bottom. And once you get into the drag itself, there is a bearing retainer that also has an O-ring. Although it's not a tight seal, it does offer a little bit more protection against debris. Now in comparison, the Penn doesn't offer any true form of sealing to keep water and debris out of the drag. It relies solely on a Teflon washer sandwiched between the click plate and the bottom half of the spool, like so. And the top half of the spool, the drag knob offers zero sealing at all and relies on the fisherman to add liberal amounts of grease to keep sand and debris out of the top. And if you notice, the bottom half of this spool has the anodized coating kind of eroded away. That happens if you get sand trapped between the bottom of the spool and that Teflon washer. It will wear through over time. Points go to the Star S7000 for drag design and spool support. Now, from the perspective of a surf caster, where fewer parts are always better and more reliable, I would have designed this without a bearing, maybe a bushing. That would have been more reliable if water did get in there. Is this bearing going to actually then serve as an effective bushing, or is it going to lock up and bind in the drag? What happens when salt water gets up in there, it dries out and leaves the salt deposits? Is it going to bind against the inside of the spool? We don't know until it happens. If they used a bushing, it may prove to be more reliable, but we'll cross that bridge, I guess, when we get there. But at the same time, the reel's not sealed anyway. The best sealing the reel occurs at the spool. So is the reel going to fail before the spool bearing does? I have no idea. Just throwing it out there. So, moving right along. Now, in terms of the drag performance, without a doubt, the Star's more modern design incorporates the larger surface area of carbon fiber washers, not relying on any Teflon or Rulon or plastic, other than what the bottom of the spool rests on, which is perfectly fine. The sealing of the drag itself will allow the drag to perform smoother for longer, and it'll be more reliable. So, points go to the Star. The Penn, there have been many guys out there that have problems with sticky drags. It's just an improved, more modernized design, so definitely points go to the Star. Now moving along to the handles and knobs, both of which are machined aluminum and of the thread-on variety. The S7000 features a round EVA style knob, where the Penn features a T. One thing to note about the S7000 is it appears you can service it by unscrewing this cap, and I've seen it plenty of times in the past. And I know better that oftentimes there's some sort of thread locker underneath here. I couldn't get this off without damaging it, and I kind of did. If you can see there, if it'll focus, I kind of chowdered up that slot. I didn't want to go any further. But yeah, I'm not sure if you can get that off. Your mileage may vary. Best bet, drop oil down in the base here, and it'll percolate up into the bushings. All right, now this is where it gets fun. On the left, you have the Star S7000. The right, you have the Penn 704Z. Now, everybody, including probably my grandmother, wanted a 704Z with an infinite anti-reverse. That way it handles braid a little bit better. You don't have to worry about that rotor slop and creating a little slack line and then causing a blow up or a dig in later on when you're fishing. But unfortunately, with that design, removes a lot of the simplicity and durability that came along with the original Z, or even the greenies. Now I'll explain to you why. If you look, this is the top of the reel. The only thing north of this is a bearing retainer, a rotor brake, and a rotor. That's it. Now if you look at the Star, what you have contained north of here is now an infinite anti-reverse clutch, a ball bearing with a small type shim or washer, and a clutch sleeve. Now, infinite anti-reverse clutches, or AR bearings, are very sensitive. So you get that contaminated with water or oil or grease, it will no longer function. Now, sometimes they'll function when it's warm out if they're contaminated with oil or grease, but once it gets cold out, that's when they fail. Now, the benefit that came along with the original Z, especially for the surfcaster, is you can pack these solid with grease. You would just basically take a spatula and load the entire gearbox up with grease. That way, any water came in and had to get through 4 ounces of grease. And the anti-reverse on the Penn was kind of mounted to the main gear, and it was a dog type anti-reverse clutch. If you look on the back here, just like so. And the additional benefit of adding all that grease was that clickety-click got muffled in quiet. Now, if you went ahead and packed this gearbox with grease, A couple things. When you needed to replace that grease or clean that grease out, you now have to worry about getting an AR clutch bearing. That's issue number one. That's a major issue. But on the Penn, all you had to do was just give it a push. It came right up and out. And then all you had to do is either inspect to see if the grease down here was good. And if it wasn't, just take a paper towel and just blob that out, and boom, you're done. You didn't even have to take out all the grease. That's how tank-like this worm and wheel type gear arrangement was. You didn't have to worry about anything. It just worked. Now this runs on a bearing here and a bearing in here. And in order to get at those bearings, you have to take either, I believe, an 11mm wrench, a kind of a crescent wrench or a pair of pliers, and put it over like so, and then take a screwdriver and carefully remove the screw. Now, one thing I found while working on this reel, the screws used were not of very high quality. I did notice that it was kind of easy to kind of chatter the heads on them, and I use pretty good screwdrivers. I'm always very, very careful and very conscious of wrecking a screw head. So you have the, we'll call this the shaft, and you have the main gear. The shaft is key to the main gear, and this screw here, flathead, keeps them together. Now, once that has been removed, you can access the inner and outer bearings and this little copper shim. So it's a little inconvenient because the shaft has to kind of go from the inside out. I don't know why they decided to do that, versus if you looked at the Penn, it just pulls out cleanly. No big deal. No muss, no fuss. So another thing that makes it a little less convenient, adding more parts to break over the Penn. Now with both of these out, you'll see that the Penn runs on a bushing, these run on two bearings, and now you have the anti-reverse mechanism of that Penn, which again runs on those dogs. Other cool thing about the Penn, they had a little oil port. If you press on this, let's see if I can get it to budge. Sometimes they'll kind of seize up, but see them moving around there? Just gotta put your oil in there, boom, add oil, bushings instantly oiled. Whereas these, you gotta remove shields and all that kind of stuff. I am glad that they're not press fit. They're actually shielded, and there's a retaining clip that you can actually do maintenance on these bearings. That's a plus. And for those of you guys that worry about bushings versus bearings, bushings are, especially these bronze bushings like these things last forever. And look, there's no visible wear on this shaft here at all. And you can see here, another bushing that runs on steel, that runs on the traverse cam. No wear at all to speak of. And they're smooth. They really are. Me personally, I'm not a bearing, snob. I don't need bearings everywhere. I like bushings on some reels. As a matter of fact, I ordered a bunch to do some experiments. Now, this on a saltwater reel without any sealing, yes, there is a lip seal that goes over here. It's about as effective as a Band-Aid at keeping water out of a cut. So in time, you're going to get water in here. It's not going to be able to escape, and it's going to rust out this. Water is going to get into there, and once it's in, it's in. What are you going to do? You're going to take a hose and blow out salt crystals after it gets all dried and crusty? I've said a few times that this reel confuses me, and I don't understand it. And that's exactly why. They came out with an anti-reverse clutch Penn Z. Awesome. But why did you complicate it with so many other things that make maintaining it much more of a headache? It's a simple reel. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anybody can work on this reel. But it's a pain. It's not something that's simple. So you can't, and you probably won't be fishing this the same way you fish this. Because the second this is now in the water, whether you pack these bearings with grease or not, you now have to worry about how long it's going to take those bearings to seize on you. And again, we don't know if these bearings are going to act as bushings once that inner race locks up. So you tell me. It's a your mileage may vary thing. You cannot fish this reel as hard as you fish this reel. So at $170, you're getting crappy line lay, crappy performance. You're getting a ton of capacity, which if that's what you want, hey, go more power to you. You're getting also, addition to the stronger drag, a thinner spool shaft. It's about I think it's 5.5 millimeters for this. No, 5 3/4 versus 5.5 millimeters for the Star. They added the S-shaped traverse cam or oscillation slider. Everybody wanted that, but it still laid line like crap. I mean, come on. Who tests these reels when they make them? You tell me. Am I a defect? Does this oscillation cam look like it's centered to you properly? Is that wrong? Is that right? Is this hole not centered right? I checked the alignment on the shaft to make sure it was you know what? It was because of this? You tell me. So, in addition to the bearings being future problems if you fish it like the original Z, you have the anti-reverse clutch. You have the trickier maintenance that you're not going to want to kind of go in there and just blob grease in and just go about your business. This isn't that kind of reel. Guys, look at this like you would a Daiwa, whatever, insert BG. Look at this like a Daiwa BG with a fancier gear material. Look at this like a Shimano Spheros. There's, you know, with a worm and wheel versus your standard hypoid or whatever kind of gearing you call them. That's how durable this reel is going to be in the surf. Keep that in mind. This is not a Penn Z. I compared it to it because it looks like it. It's designed similar to it. But everything and all the little intricacies of the design are nothing at all what makes this reel so special. And if you guys know me on the forums, I'm not a Penn fan. I think every single spinning reel besides the Torque and that new Slammer are pretty much overpriced heavy jokes. The Fierce versus whatever I don't even know the names of them. You know, the Battle, the Clash, all those. I mean, the Clash is probably not a bad reel, but why is it $200? I mean, the street price is lower, but whatever. I'm not a Penn guy. There's lots of Penn guys out there. I'm not one of them. They're conventionals. I have no problems with. They're China-made spinners and they're, you know, mid-level spinners up until that Slammer, until it proves itself. Why are you going to buy it? I mean, I hate to sound like a Shimano fanboy, but the Spheros and Saragossa, you can't beat them for the money. You really can't. I mean, and the BG at $100, why are you going to buy a Battle? I don't understand that. You know, Penn has been around forever, and their line lay is still horrible. So I digress. I don't even know. I've been at this for quite a while now. Side plates, real quick. Plastic on the Penn, but it doesn't matter. The only thing the plastic side plate does on the Penn Z is keep this from kind of popping up. And there usually is no flex. Lockdown drag, you may or may not experience any issues. Aluminum on this, again with little, you know, cosmetic beauty plates. And this little piece of plastic here does the exact same thing as the plastic track here. My other gripe on this Star reel, how many different kinds and sizes of screws and types of screws can you physically put in a reel? You have 2 different lengths of Torques. You have flathead, Phillips head of all different sizes all over the reel. There's no consistency. And the quality of the screws used on this reel are rather low. And for a surf reel, that's pretty important because if you want it to last, you're going to be inside it often. It's nice that they put the Torques there. They're T15s, I believe. That way you're not going to worry about chattering the heads with the Phillips if there's sand in there. You know, you get sand in heads of screws, it's a pain in the ass to get them out because you got to blow out the sand, blah, 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 blah. But it's one of those things where, why? Why couldn't you just make them all the same friggin' thing? At least with the Penn, 99% of the screws are flatheads. At least you know what to expect. Whereas with this one, you need T15 Torxes, you need Phillips, you need flatheads of different sizes. You could probably get away with just a 0. And additionally, some of those screws you can't even open. Like the original, or the one of the bail assembly screws, or the line pickup assembly screws, it was so Loctited you couldn't budge it. So you're going to run into a problem if you go to open it, you may snap the head off or chatter the head, whatever it might be. When I get confused, I get bitter. Like, why did they decide to do this crap? Was this a reel that Star actually designed? Or did they see in a Chinese exporter or a Chinese trade show a reel for sale by a vendor that attracted them, and they went up to them and said, hey, can you make us 1,000 of these reels and give us a 6-month exclusive? And did they check a couple boxes and order the reels? I don't know. That's what it looks like to me. Because looking at the design, claiming it was based on an iconic reel, it doesn't look like it was well thought out. It looks similar. It's got all the similar drivetrain. It's efficient. It's an egg beater. That's all it is. It's as simple as that. It's an egg beater. But had they developed this themselves from the ground up, I'm willing to bet they're like, we love Penn. And I think Sea Striker, who owns Star or did own Star, and the other company that bought Sea Striker or vice versa, and once owned Penn or vice versa, it's not like they don't know who or what this is and why it was so special, which kind of makes me scratch my head as to how this is what they ended up with. All right, now guys, I have a question for you. Now that I've done a pretty thorough side-by-side comparison, I want to ask you guys, do you feel I'm being biased or trying to take shots at this brand or anything like that, or trying to show favoritism towards the brand Penn? Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if I've been objective or not. Because what I'm about to go over next makes me kind of angry, to be honest. I'm not very happy about it at all. And it's something that I kind of hinted at when I first did a video on this reel, where I pointed out, if you looked in this gap here, and I had assumed that it was the anti-reverse clutch pack, because it kind of looked like it was in the right spot. I didn't know exactly how this section of the reel was configured. But after seeing what it actually is, I have a message to Star Fishing Tackle. You guys are marketing this as a extra reliable, durable saltwater fishing reel for boat and beach. Are you willing to refund me my money? I can't go back to J&H. I've owned this reel now. I've fished it. I've taken it apart. But I feel like you're blatantly lying to me. Plain and simple. How do you get off making a saltwater spinning reel, which runs on ball bearings, has seals in certain areas to keep water out, and then go ahead and you see that? That's a pinion gear. That is it. This whole slot that runs from here all the way across is fully exposed. The entire pinion, let's see if we can, this is denatured alcohol under almost zero pressure at all. Let's go ahead now and see denatured alcohol with zero pressure. Yep. It easily made it in there, all throughout here. Soaked. So you're telling me, I don't even care. So you're telling me that that's a saltwater friendly reel? Is the objective to have the salt water get into the reel and rinse out all the sand that gets in here and push the sand to the bottom and trap the sand in the bottom and then evaporate? Is that the goal with the design? Tell me if I'm wrong. I really want to know. Who comes up with a design of a saltwater reel and exposes the pinion in its entirety? If I am out of line on this, if you guys think I'm not being objective anymore and overreacting to something like this, please, please tell me. I'll eat crow if it was actually a purposeful design, because they use a stainless and a bronze and they don't have to worry about, you know, rust. And you tell me, it's a saltwater reel. And, you know, they're designing it also as being a surf reel. And the number one killer of all things, surfer salt and sand, and you leave it exposed to the point where any salt water that gets in is literally going to percolate in these little tracks here, as it right down into the channels here, emulsify it with your lubricant and destroy it. And you tell me. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. $10 reels in China have a better sealing capabilities than this $180. I'm done. I'm done. I ain't never going to fish this reel. Oh, and by the way, it's left-hand crank only. So use your left hand to retrieve it. And I'm done. Don't need to go any further. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, God, I'm going to get some hate for this one. But you know what? Screw it. I don't care. I'm here for you guys. I spent 100 and whatever, it's 179 minus the 10% at J&H. J&H shipped it out. They did everything wonderfully. No complaints through J&H at all whatsoever. If anything, they're one of the better guys out there. They're very helpful. I've never shopped there in person, but I do like what I see from them. But this Star company, this is ridiculous. I've fished a couple of their rods from friends of mine. The rods they make are great. This, to me, is laughable. Let's take a look here. Let's look at the pen. Just pointing it out there. The pen is sealed. There's no gap. So whoever kind of took this design and mimicked it, you missed that part. You missed that part. Just pointing that out there. Now, real quick, I didn't realize I was out of frame when I was talking about the denatured alcohol being on the pinion. So what I did was I took it back apart, cleaned it out, and I put the side plate back on, and there is a little bit of play back and forth. And what I did was I loosened the screws up and pushed this up as close as it's going to get, and then I tightened them back down. So I gave the reel every benefit of the doubt, and you can see that there's still a pretty substantial gap. And what we're going to do now is take an eyedropper, and give me 1 second, get this lined up. I'm going to take an eyedropper, and look at that, I want to get right in there. Where's the water going? Inside my reel? For real? For real. An eyedropper with some dirt. So, yeah, you can see that there ain't much water pressure there. And let's see. It's only dirt, it won't hurt. Now keep in mind, guys, the dirt's one thing. If this water was salt water, forget about it. Let's go ahead and before we get to that last screw, we're going to tip her on over because we don't want any of that water that may be sitting in that screw hole to get in the reel. Actually, let me just wipe it off. That's probably the best bet. we're going to tip it like that. I guess, guys, I'm being objective. I'm not happy, but doesn't mean I can't be objective. And oh, look at all that water in there. Oh, that's funny. So that was just like 2 eyedroppers. It looks like the water all made it inside. No water pressure at all. None. How's that for your saltwater friendly reel? Now, let's go ahead and see if this water drains anywhere. No screws on, just squeezing the side plates. That water's in there good. Oh, it came out the pinion. Oh no, it wasn't on camera. I don't think it was on camera. Oh, it might have been. I tipped it, and that all came out of the pinion. So what does that tell me? That means when you're actually fishing the reel, you're not fishing it up and down like this or upside down. You're fishing it level. That water is just going to come up here and sit right up in here. Right up in here. Great design, guys. You got me for my $180. Appreciate it. Never buying a product used again. Thank you. Guys, thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here. I am expecting some major pushback on this one. Yeah. So with that being said, I appreciate all the time you guys spend here. Till next time, guys, let me know what you thought down in the comment section below. Hit that like button. Likes keep me alive. Subscribe. If you want to check out other reviews, other tackle hacks, all sorts of cool stuff, please subscribe and check out the other videos I have on my channel. And with that being said, guys, until next time, tight lines, and I'll see you soon.